Welcome to Aiden, Making Businesses Smarter. I'm Matt Solarchik, and today I'm joined again by Quentin Fisher, founder and CEO of Aiden. In our first episode, we explored how to identify high impact use cases. Today, we're diving deeper into what many industry experts consider the next frontier of artificial intelligence: vertical AI agents. While companies rush to implement these general solutions such as ChatGPT, visionary leaders are recognizing that true competitive landscape and advantages comes from these specialized AI designs for your industry, for your workflows, and for your data. These vertical AI agents don't just sit alongside your business, they become an integral part of it. So in today's conversations, we're going to explore why vertical solutions create long-lasting value in a world where general AI is becoming a commodity, how deep integrations transform business operations, and what it takes to implement AI, not just a feature, but a fundamental part of your business strategy. Quentin, let's start by defining the terms. What is the difference between horizontal AI solutions like ChatGPT and vertical AI agents that are focused on a specific industry?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So horizontal is going to be across kind of many different use cases and is typically a technology that's, once again, across many different use cases, and you can kind of apply it. And it's very sophisticated in what it's doing. It's a lot of the times very consumer centric, and has a lot of generic or answers that would be accessible to everyone, right? And with just almost like a single layer, right? So think of you using ChatGPT. You actually have to, grab maybe some information, or you want to have it understand a document. You have to go grab the text from a document and then put it into this horizontal solution. It'll then give you an answer. And then if you want to use that answer, you got to grab it from that solution and put it somewhere else, right? Whereas a vertical AI solution is something that would be integrated, right? It would automatically kind of take something, say this document, maybe you'd have some built-in rules that you want to look at it three different ways or with three different lenses or personas, and kind of have different perspectives on it, and then have a kind of a follow-up function to do something else on it, and then to take the result of that to store it into a database or send an email, and all that kind of being kind of integrated. I think the key things with vertical AI solutions that there's a kind of a top and bottom, and the bottom is, and this is kind of what we talk a lot about with our control tower, is like you really have a data lake, and that's your data, your information. So it's unique to you. That's the fuel for this rocket ship, right? It takes that data, that unique information that only you have, and uses the capabilities of these horizontal models, right? These $1 trillion companies that have invested in this, uses them, gets an answer, and then you have at the top, at our control tower, is like this process or this action or assessment based on maybe some key criteria or key rules. So with vertical, right, maybe the AI engine isn't as powerful. Maybe it's smaller. Maybe it's tuned for something a little tighter, right? Could be a lot cheaper, right? But it has your data on the bottom and your processes on the top of it, right? So I think that's kind of an interesting way to kind of think about it and look at it.
Okay, so a lot more efficiency, a lot less friction, and it's your data, which is why vertical AI solution is the way to go. And I know that Aiden focuses on these specialized AI solutions on its Aiden platform. What led you to this discovery when everybody was focused on these horizontal solutions? You're like, wow, there's an opportunity here for vertical AI.
Yeah. Well, I think as we started putting these solutions in place, it became pretty apparent that, well, for one thing, you don't need the best model in the world for everything. So you can pick different models for different use cases or different scenarios, right? So that's kind of one thing. And so this thing can be cheaper if you design it the right way. The other thing is, we found that it's just another piece of kind of process or solution development. You need to have the bookends of this, right? And nobody's got time to cut and paste things into chat and to do this and to do that, right? and we have processes for a reason. And the problem with chat is that it's just so variable. It's based whatever that human does, and that changes a lot. So if you want to put some type of system in for your business, it's going to be highly dependent on how people chat with this thing. That's not a very reliable process or approach at all. Where with a vertical solution, you can you can get your data into it efficiently. You can have these models kind of very focused on an objective, which typically increases their accuracy, right? Because you can kind of, teach it or tune it to be focused on a certain goal or have a certain perspective on it. And then once you do that, it's like, so what, right? So why'd you do all this? What are you going to do with it? So then you kind of can take it that next step. And that really reduces the manual effort to do these things, and reduces friction, and helps things kind of run a lot smoother. And you start running these processes in the background instead of you having to kind of manually manage a lot of them too.
Do you have an example from either healthcare or manufacturing where maybe a client had a simple horizontal AI solution, but wasn't really effective until you implemented a vertical AI solution?
Yeah, I think well, there's a number of them. So you can have these systems do kind of data analysis, right? On some of your data, you can load some of your data up, and you can tell it to operate as a data analyst and analyze this data and all that stuff. But what you're doing is you're once again copy pasting, putting it into the system, and it's not necessarily integrated into your kind of data set. And then that data analysis is like, well, what are the types of questions that you should be answering and asking on a periodic basis, right? So there's kind of known good questions to ask that you can be asking instead of having to think of them every time, right? So back to a process, right? So basically, you can get your data and your processes and kind of run these things in a kind of a background process, and then spit out kind of key results or findings. So that's much more effective, right? To kind of have the results kind of published and spit out, and maybe some key highlights, right? Versus having someone use these kind of horizontal tools, which are, still good, but kind of manually intensive. And I guess that's okay to do it initially, but you're going to want to streamline that once again with this vertical solution.
Yes. So it's almost like with horizontal AI, you can get a taste of how good this really is by maybe taking a spreadsheet, downloading some data, telling ChatGPT to analyze that data and what are their thoughts on it. But the next step is, why shouldn't we just make that a seamless process? Why can't you just wake up in the morning, have the data analyst just run it in the background, wake up, start your day with actionable insights that you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, automating. I guess that's another key thought, right? As you go to vertical AI, a lot of these steps and the integrations and processes are just automated, right? So and you do your job is more defining the process and kind of how do I want to think about this, and what are some of the and then so you're working on the system, not in the system, right?
And
So you define that, and then you have these vertical solutions just kind of process them and kind of give you the summaries. Yeah.
almost like you want to work on your business, not in your business. And the only way to kind of expand your stuff and have like a bird's eye view of everything is having these automations in place or data analysts to run things. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be stuck in the muck, right? You want to be
yeah.
kind of, surveying the landscape and having your AI minions do the work for you, right?
And I know when it comes to vertical AI, it requires specialized data and resources. If there isn't great data resources, the capabilities are limited. How do you help customers kind of overcome these data silos, or what does that
Mhm.
implementation look like to solve those
Yeah.
issues?
Well, I think a lot of the software companies will kind of build these, I'll say, micro vertical solutions inside of their own software, right? So, say inside of a software, they're going to have the data. There's no reason they can't build these things inside their software stack, right? And kind of building that because they have all the information and all that stuff. But I guess what we're really focused on is when you have to go cross cross system and cross platform, right? And so many decisions aren't just in one system or one data set. You need to go cross system. And there really isn't, an effective solution out there right now to pull data from these multiple systems and help you kind of orchestrate that data and then make decisions on data across all these systems. And I guess that's kind of the key, right? If you, it's almost like, I know, what was it? Way back, Netflix built these, had this big competition on who was going to build the best model to recommend the best next movie for yourself, right? And they had this big competition, and all these scientists and came up with these real new kind of novel model techniques and all that stuff. So all these very sophisticated models. And then they had a bunch of these kind of college hacks saying, well, hey, let's just grab a bunch of this data and what about grabbing the IMDb data and all these other data sets and putting that together and kind of running. And then that is that they want the kids, and more data beats better algorithms. The only reason I say that is because if you got more data and you got access to more data, right, and information, you're going to make better decisions. And that's true for your organization too, right? Because how many times do you have something going on in a different part of the business versus this part of the business? And you want to be able to connect and correlate those. And you want that information in your AI system. I mean, that's what it's there for. It's really good at collating, collecting, analyzing data, right? So put it in an environment where you can take advantage of that, and you're going to get much better results. And it learns over time too, right? Hey, that's important. That's not important, right? So I think back to kind of data silos, data is the fuel to run this thing. And if you have access to a wider breadth of data across your organization, then you can start seeing linkages that were kind of invisible before, no one really thought of, right? And you understand the implications of certain things.
So data is the gold standard. It made me think about something I've seen on Facebook, that Facebook got accused of downloading like terabytes of data from Pirate Bay to teach its AI algorithms how to do things, right? Data to make it smarter. I'm curious on how are these vertical agents like updated with these latest industry knowledge? Is it just practices specific to just that company, or are these algorithms learning outside of just the company? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, basically, it has access to your data, and so your vertical AI solution will have access to your data. Nobody else will, right? So you're building a solution that has access to your data, and you want to develop things so that it can learn based on your data, right? So I think that's one thing, right? So that's not something that you're going to get out in the market because they don't have your data, right? So you want to have a solution where it can understand and learn off of your data in a secure environment, of course, right? As well, you're able to leverage some of these big foundation models like, this Facebook or Microsoft or Google that have, trained these kind of models up on, whatever trillions of kind of data sets and parameters, right? It's huge, right? These things are huge and very sophisticated and intelligent, but they don't have your data, right? So you can kind of get the best of both worlds, right? And sometimes you don't need, and those big models are kind of expensive too and slow. Lots of times you don't need that. You just need a cheaper, faster model that has your data, and it just does good, maybe a faster job, and just as good a job, and maybe it would cost a tenth or a hundredth of what some of these big models would cost. So that's a scenario where you want to find the right kind of general or foundation model, mesh it in with your stuff, and then have it kind of learn, and enhance it based on a lot of your data. You could build your own model too, if it was unique enough. And I think that's the case for some things, like with this kind of vertical AI solution. It's not just about these large language foundation models that everybody's doing in ChatGPT, but you could also have your own kind of forecasting model and these other kind of models that are looking at your data sets or customer attrition model or whatever it is, but truly trained on your data, right? And you can have these systems access, these broader foundation models for general intelligence, but then also hit almost like another uh, piece of intellectual property of yours would be your forecasting model or your churn model, and just hitting those and using those in that broader use case or process that you're using. And I think that's a good example of pulling data from different parts of the organization to answer one of these kind of bigger questions that you have or processes that you have in place.
Okay. So the vertical AI can run on a general model that's accessible to, the public or developers, but then we have these more complex models that are very custom tailored to an organization and it runs on different processes. And that's why vertical AI cannot become a commodity because these systems and processes are
Yeah.
very, very unique to
Yeah. Yeah.
that industry, that
Yeah.
company. Okay.
Yeah, I think three things, right? It's your data that's yours. You may have unique models that are yours, right? And then, of course, at the top, you have unique processes that orchestrate and drive and make decisions based on these things. And you can't commoditize that. That's very unique to yours. Now you're using a highly commoditized foundation model as part of it, but your solution's much deeper, much richer, much maybe faster, more integrated, more focused than some of these more general horizontal solutions.
And back to data silos for a second. So being less tacky, if I look at marketing, when we connect data to different integrations, we use like APIs. When it comes to AI and vertical AI, are you using APIs to connect data, or is there a more sophisticated process to connect these data silos?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, yeah, so if people are familiar with APIs to kind of grab data, right? What we actually do as we build these vertical solutions, we'll build out a flow or or even a kind of an agentic process, right? But it actually calling APIs that are maybe getting the model results, right? So where, hey, one of the APIs is maybe going to open AI and getting response, right? Another API is hitting this custom forecasting model that we talked about, or this churn model. So you're actually developing inside of your AI kind of library all these APIs. Some of them will be these publicly available things. Others could be data sets, to your point. Others could be your custom models. So it's almost this API list that this process is able to kind of access, right? So it's hitting all these tools and skills that are now available to it to kind of complete this process. And so that's, yeah. And some of those models could be trained based on your data, but you've kind of trained it so that that model that's there, right, you just hit it and get an answer. But prior you've trained this forecasting model based on your data, and it's available for this kind of process to trigger and ask questions and do all that, right? So yeah, it's just absolutely what you're doing is you're building out a process that has all these kind of API tools available to it, and then it just hits the ones that are appropriate to help answer the question.
Fascinating. The way I'm kind of thinking about is again to that like operating system iPhone model. It's like, we can we can give somebody a advanced technology and it's just sitting on top of, the customer's platform and data. And then we have just basic models. And then as if we're trying to make it more advanced, more capable, we're just kind of upgrading the iOS system. We're just kind of tweaking, fixing bugs, and it's keep on improving to whatever version the company's with. And I think that's beautiful because on the ADM platform, we can scale with the customer. If the customer wants to do a couple point solutions, maybe engage schedule, it could be very minimal, right? Or we can kind of advance the capabilities to how advanced the customer wants. Is that kind of how to think about the
Yeah,
ADM platform?
yeah, it's kind of we've been phrasing it. It's almost like your AI operating system in a way, right? It's your kind of system of operation, and then you're hitting, you're hitting. You can't have AI or prediction solutions that are ahead of, say, your data, right? So you want to be have your data maturity and your analytics or your AI skills that are, at par and consistent, right? So basically, this is a stack and a framework for you to manage all of those, right? Your data, these model assets that are available via the APIs, and then having your unique processes that are driving, real actionable results, right? So it's your processes and then your chosen set of AI APIs, right? Or apps, right? And it's on your data, right? And so this is yeah, once again, a broader operating system, and it can be as light or as heavy as you want or need on the AI front, and maybe it's just a bit more analytical and less predictive and things like that.
Yeah.
So depending on your needs, right?
Yeah. Oh, very, very good perspective. And kind of back to this operating system and iPhone, right? So, for example, I use my iPhone and I can use Siri. I can tell it to remind me tasks, and I can use it full capabilities of this operating system versus my grandma. You give her the iPhone, she could probably look up YouTube and search a couple of things, and it's almost like a dumb phone, right? So, how do you help business owners really encompass this full capability of this vertical AI solution? How do you teach somebody that has no idea what
Mm-hmm.
vertical AI even is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, when we go in, we'll first do an assessment. I think we talked a bit about that in another session, right? And just really help understand, where is there enough juice for that squeeze, right? And where's the value, or given where you are in your market at your maturity or scale or whatever, like what are some of the pains that you guys are facing? And it's really about just finding solutions for that, right? And these should be, in a way, the concept is that they're very much self-funding, right? You should have a high return on investment for these solutions. So put something in that's really going to deliver, that maybe isn't too hard to do initially, but has some nice, easy return and can get you familiar with the platform and the solution and start using it, right? And then as you get comfortable with it, you'll take on more ambitious and maybe higher kind of value kind of opportunities and solutions. But you want to start with, they classically would say, the low hanging fruit, right? So you want to go, grab that low hanging fruit, get some reps in, understand the capabilities, and maybe it forces you to rethink the way you're doing a few things, right? Now that you see you're using it, and it's kind of amazing how fast this technology is moving, right? So I think people are really going to have to be kind of pivoting, how they kind of run their operations, or even, I'm not sure the business models will change, but they'll be impacted in a big way. And so having this, it's just the start of it, right? The journey and not a destination, right? So how do you get something in so that you can get those reps in and start just kind of thinking through, where you need to focus and where not, right?
Just thinking how scalable the solution is for customers. I can already think of you having a client where they finally had that aha moment to what is it that you're doing, and they just had a smile like, wow, I
Yeah.
can't believe this is the capability. Do you have a story in mind that you really changed the customer's perspective on how powerful these vertical solutions are?
Yeah. Well, I was even just working with one, accounting firm, and they were just trying to process a number of different invoices, and just having these automated ways of just scanning the document, understanding what some of the key fields were automatically, understanding what all what the chart of accounts is, and the right place to put, these funds based on their customers, and then build a file so they could get uploaded directly into their financial system, and just by scanning a document, and all of a sudden, boom, all of that stuff is done and it's accurate. And not only that, but it tags the documents with all this data, metadata, right? Here's all the stuff that was in it. right? And that way it's available for searching later and very accessible. And like, oh, wow, like this totally changes the efficiency and productivity. Now they can start moving to those higher value tasks, right? And do that. I and I think maybe I would say a year ago, I was like thinking, hey, a lot of people would be very focused on, the predictive and the very kind of insight led kind of activities and versus the productivity play, right? And I think what we're seeing here over the past year for sure is that there's just a lot of opportunity on the productivity front, right? And there's so much opportunity. And I think the reason for that is because for the first time, these large language models can take massive amounts of text and turn it into information instead of humans having to read it and scan it. And so the first time with these models, that can be totally automated. And that's just a lot of, you know, painful work that these humans have to kind of grind through. It can completely be automated and we can be leveling up our tasks to be doing more meaningful or strategic activities, right? And there's just a huge kind of bow wave of kind of opportunity just to drive productivity, efficiencies, and level up the people so they can start doing the things that they even never got a chance to, right? Or they always wanted to, but they can never get to, right? So I think that's maybe as people are thinking through it. I mean, that I think is the big um, opportunity that's kind of here right now. Just and once again, it helps you get going, right? It's very productivity focused. You kind of see it, and then I think there's of course all those predictive and insight driven opportunities that are still there, but this is a way to get some really good returns quickly and start rethinking things.
And you make a good perspective because productivity is big for operational efficiencies. I think some companies they were really trying to capitalize on overseas work to kind of decrease their operational expenses and costs. But why do that instead to train somebody where you can just have an AI agent that already knows your data, understands
Yeah.
clear processes, and that's just going to be streamlined.
It's so much overhead to that whole
Yeah.
approach, right? And to do that, and then you're dealing with another party, and yeah, it gets there's a lot there. Whereas if you had this kind of internal kind of team, insource it to your AI team or agents or digital workforce, right? And so I think that there's a ton of opportunity there that can, and then you kind of keep it all in house, right?
So within a decade, you've seen advancements from predicting analytics to productivity being this frontier that's really kind of taking off and AI can accommodate that. What are you excited about as far as like technology advancements? What are you excited about for the future that you're going to be amazed how fast AI is moving or that's going to help you with your capabilities with the vertical AI solution?
Yeah, I think that it's going to redefine the way we do work, right? Because what's happening is these models they're getting a general level of intelligence. Because the problem before is that I think it was really good for kind of very deep, predictive, insight driven stuff because we're trying to find something new and we'd spend the time, building the rules and the parameters because we wanted to find this kind of new thing out, right? Or predict this thing that's coming. And it was kind of worth the effort, right? And this productivity stuff was never worth the effort because we do too many different things all the time. It's like the effort it takes to kind of write a rule to do something is almost kind of more effort than it is just to do it, right? Because it's so diverse. And then if you wrote a rule, you do it 10 different ways and you don't have time to write 10 different rules and then things change. And you could never there was never any return on that. But now these models are becoming more generalizable, right? They're approaching what they call this general intelligence. And what that means is we don't have to put as many rules in. We can just say, hey, do this. Here's the things, don't do X, Y, and Z. And it produces really good results, right? And I guess the point there is that that's getting so good that we can really start automating a lot of these kind of tasks and getting much more efficient and effective with the things that we're doing. And it's really going to change the way we work, right? And I think we're going to be adding way more value, right? And we're going to be way more productive as a unit. And it's almost like we're going to start back to this AI operating system. It's kind of a very important component because it's a force multiplier for your team, right? And now all of a sudden your team is, 2x, 3x, 5x, right? What they were, same team, because you got, you know, this this kind of you know super capability that they're driving and kind of running and using, right? So now they're amplified. Your team is now amplified. So I think that's really going to change a lot of change the way we work, really.
And that's powerful. One thing that we're doing, here is with AI, we're not trying to replace human capability. We're just trying to enhance that. And that's a great way to look at it. Even Aiden, right? We're making businesses smarter. We're not trying to replace humans. It's just giving the capabilities and tools to make them run more efficiently. And
Yeah.
if you're a company that's interested in a vertical AI, how should a company prepare their organization before they get started with vertical AI solutions?
Yeah, I think you just you have to get in and start doing, right? And I think there's no big prep. You just got to jump in. You'll once again find these low hanging fruit opportunities, start working on those, and then start thinking about this concept of an operating system as you're experimenting and doing things and understanding, hey, let's hit this low hanging fruit stuff. Let's get some value, right? You just learn by doing. And then I think the biggest thing you can do is that. And then I think everything else we just talked about, like, you need good data, right? You can't have the AI way ahead of your data set or your processes, and you need to define certain ways of doing it and all that stuff. These things are all integrated. So back to this kind of AI operating system and processes and models and data, right? They all need to be working in concert. So I think, but you need to, there's no real big build out and then do it. You just got to learn by doing. And I think the benefits of these cloud solutions is that you can do it very iteratively, right? Use case by use case. You want to uh, design with the end in mind, right? Kind of have this bigger picture, this bigger AI operating system vision and message, but you eat the elephant one bite at a time by eating these kind of use cases, and hopefully along the way these are self-funding, and that they can actually generate enough revenue to kind of accelerate and kind of grow this capability, and you're going to see greater and greater value as you're going through it, right? So it should be an upward spiral, right? As you go through it. So just get in there and start doing, I guess, is the kind of key message.
They're very powerful where people are thinking AI is a cost center. You just are describing that you start with one use case, you start easy, and it's going to start saving money on the operations side where you can keep reinvesting that money to keep on growing the business and this architecture of AI.
Yeah, it's not an IT spend. It is an operating capability, right? I think that's another key thing. If people are looking at this, oh, my IT budget, that's not the way to think about this thing. This is an operating capability and should be on your operating budget, not on your IT budget, right? Because it should be kind of, like I say, amplifying your team's capability in a much more, you know, meaningful way than I'd say classic IT could.
One last question to wrap things up. Somebody that's looking for a vertical AI solution wants to figure out a use case for their business. How can they get started? Do we offer some kind of AI assessment or some kind of use case built out for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually right now we have a AI assessment, an AI model that helps you define what AI opportunities are good for your organization. So we have a kind of you know differentiated by industry, right? And ask you a number of different questions on back to the pain points. Where is your business? Where do you need some of the? It's all about the business value, right? And then we help you with our AI model and our tool brainstorm prioritize different use cases, and then as well understand like, okay, where should you start, right? You don't want to start with the hardest one, right? But you want to start with something that has some value at the same time too. So we kind of work through that with you. And so we have an AI model to kind of help you do all that. So I think we'll kind of release that and make it available to everyone once you can finalize that.
Awesome. There's absolutely so much low friction there. Get signed up with the AI assessment, find out your use case, get connected with us, and see how we can help you implement vertical AI solutions. Quentin, thank you for your time. This has been very impactful of understanding vertical AI. Those that are just using horizontal AI, this episode uncovered why you should remove that friction and get a integrated vertical solution for your business that's going to help scale with your business needs. Thank you guys for listening.
Everyone.